Hello everyone, I'm Neeta Shankar. I'm a wedding and lifestyle photographer from Bangalore. I'm one of the Nikon expertives in India and a brand ambassador for Godox India. I'm also a mentor for brands like Data Color, Goods and Moza and Vanguard. So finally, in December of 2020, we've had a really hectic wedding season. We shot about 5 weddings in December and we just wrapped up our last wedding shoot yesterday. So while we were unpacking the gear, I thought I'll make a quick video on what all gear goes into a wedding shoot. So you can see all the gear in front of me. I'll talk about all the different lenses and accessories that we use during wedding shoots. So as you all know, I primarily shoot with my Z7. So Nikon Z7 is my primary camera. So you can see I have my Z7 here. I currently have it attached with the 50mm 1.8 Z mount lens, but I majorly shoot weddings with the 35mm because that's my primary lens, and I also love the 50mm and 85mm. So let me just find those. Yeah, you can see this is my 35mm and this is my 85mm Z mount lens. And apart from that, I also use a Z6, which we primarily use for videos, and it's usually used by Varun. And when he's not shooting with it, I use it as my secondary camera. And currently, we also have a Z6 II that I'm just trying out before I purchase my copy. So this is the Z6 II, and we shot this whole wedding season with it. Like all the videos were shot on the Z6 II, and it's a really amazing camera. So I'll do a different review session separately. So I talked about the cameras that I use. That is the Z7 for photos, Z6 II for video, and again another Z6 for video. I'm really looking forward to try the Z7 II as well as soon as I get my hands on it. So that's about the cameras. Now let's move on to the lenses. So one of my favorite lenses is the 35mm 1.8 Z mount lens. This is my absolute favorite because I mostly shoot wide angle when I'm shooting weddings because it lets me tell a story. And so this lens is just perfect for that. It has minimal distortion, so I don't need to worry about that, and it's a great lens for shooting a storytelling shot. So this lens being so lightweight, you can see how small it is. This lens being so lightweight, it makes it easy for me to carry it for a long period of time, especially during wedding shoots when we have to shoot long hours. Like sometimes we shoot like 16-17 hours in a day. So in such situations, it makes it really easy to work with such lightweight systems. So that's the whole reason I moved to mirrorless. But of course, there are some lenses in my kit which are slightly heavier, but we don't use those so often. So generally my go-to kit is my 35mm and my 85mm, and you can see how small these lenses are. So this is a 1.8 lens, this too is a 1.8 lens, and both are Z mount lenses. Now, I also like my 50mm 1.8. It's a really beautiful lens, and again 50mm is a focal length that everybody loves. So these three in my kit is what I use most often. Other than that, I also love the 24-70 2.8 lens, although it's a little heavy, so I don't use it very often, but there are times when I need something wider than the 35, and you know, when I want to have that convenience of a zoom lens, especially, you know, when we are shooting fast-paced situations and I may not have a lot of time to move back and forth, or I may not have a lot of space to move back and forth, that's when I prefer to pick up my 24-70. So this is the 2.8 version, which is slightly bigger than the f4 version which comes with the kit, but the 2.8 version is really premium. It's an S-line lens, which means it's got superior optics, and it's a really beautiful lens. So I love the build quality of it. I love how the, you know, how the pictures turn out, and it's an amazing lens to work with. And so I have the 24-70, and I also have the 14-24 2.8 Z mount lens, which is a comparatively newer lens. And earlier I used to shoot with the 14-30 to f4 lens, and this is again an amazing lens to shoot with. It's great for shooting landscapes, and it's quite nice to shoot weddings also. But I prefer the 2.8 version because it, especially when we're shooting in low light, it helps us shoot with a little more, it helps us bring in a little more light into the camera. So the 2.8 14-24 2.8 is a really amazing lens to shoot. We use it a lot to shoot video, especially if you're shooting in like cramped spaces, or if we want to show the scale of the space, when we want to show venue and things like that, it is an amazing lens to shoot with. So generally we mount it on the camera and put it on our Moza Air 2, and we use that for shooting video. So that's about the wide angle lenses, and I already talked about the 85mm. I also have the 100mm f mount lens, which is a 2.8 micro lens. So this we typically use for all the macro shots, and we say when we are shooting jewelry or when we want to shoot details, we usually pick this lens up. So this is probably the only f-mount lens I am shooting with currently, and I generally prefer to shoot with all the Z-mount lenses because I don't like the hassle of attaching an adapter. So I'm really looking forward to the 105mm Z-mount version of this lens. And this is one of the latest favorites of everyone. This is the 7200 Z-mount lens. As you can see, it's quite big, and it is quite heavy. So I don't shoot with it very often, but I do use it to take some portraits once in a while, or to shoot some details. And especially during these COVID times when I want to shoot from a distance, if there is like too much of a crowd in some places, and if I want to shoot from a distance, then I usually pick this up. So we do use it very extensively for video when we want to get an alternate close-up angle so that we can intercut with the sequences that we are shooting, wide sequences that we are shooting. So yeah, the 7200 Z-mount lens has been really amazing. It's really sharp. It's a beautiful lens because again it's an S-line lens, which means it's got really superior optics. And yeah, so that's about all the lenses that we have. So like I talked about, 35mm is my favorite. Then we have the 85, we have the 24-70, we have the 14-24, we have the 14-30, and we have the 50mm and the 100mm, sorry, 105mm, and also the 7200. Yeah, so that's about all the lenses that we shoot with. So this is the kit that my entire team shoots with. So as you can see, there are like multiple of each because in case our team gets split up, like if Varun is shooting in some place and I'm shooting in another place, we want to be able to not be restricted in terms of gear. So we have like two 35mm and two 24-70s and things like that. Yeah, so that's about all the lenses that we use, and moving on to the lighting gear. So quickly talking about all the lighting gear that we use, my absolute favorite is my 8200. You can see it mounted on a softbox, and I absolutely love that because of its power and its portability. For a 200 watt flash, it is extremely small, and it fits, it is probably just slightly bigger than a normal flash. So it's easy for me to just carry it around in my camera bag, and it is extremely useful in wedding shoots. So that is my primary lens that primary light that I use. And this is the trigger that I use. This is the X2T. I also have a backup trigger, which is the X Pro. Yeah, so I usually carry multiple triggers and multiple lenses, just in case that something breaks down. We'll always have a backup. So when you're shooting weddings, it's extremely important to have backup equipment, because you never know what can fail when, and it's always better to be on the safer side. So yeah, so I usually use the X2T on my camera to trigger the 8200, or I will have my V1 mounted on the camera to use as a bounce flash or to trigger the AD200. So these are my lighting system. So I majorly use the V1 with the AD200 and the X2T. We also have the V862, which is generally used by Varun. So this is our lighting kit so far, like all the flashes that we use. We also use a lot of AD600, AD400, but not in wedding shoots, but generally in portrait shoots. In wedding shoots, we generally like to have, as little gear as possible. Of course, this is not little, but when we have so much of equipment to carry, it makes it even more harder if you have to carry bigger strobes and soft boxes and everything. So we've done a neat compromise with the AD200 and a small softbox. We also use the LC500, which is the LED light stick, and we also have another portable LED from Godox, which again comes in really handy because of its small form factor. So apart from this, I have some neat accessories that go on top of the V1 because V1 has got a magnetic round head, all these kind of diffusers and grids and things like that. These sort of small accessories come in really helpful when you want to modify light and you don't want to carry like too much of equipment. So if I want to like quickly modify light, I use these things, which makes it really easy to use with the V1. If I have more time, then I use a softbox with a grid and things like that. So apart from that, I also have the MagMod modifiers. These again are really handy, but a little more pricier than the Godox modifiers. So we have the grip which goes onto the flash, and then we have the grid, we have the color gels, and we have the mag spear, and we'll have a lot of gels. So this is about the lighting part of it. Now coming to some of the things we use for video. So one of the first things I would like to talk about is the gimbal that we use. So it's Varun that shoots video along with my teammates. So this is the Moza Air 2, which is an amazing gimbal. So Varun uses this all the time. So this is our primary video setup. We are, usually a wide angle lens on the Z6 or Z6 II mounted on the Moza Air 2. And we also use the on-camera mic, Rode Go mic. We use a lapel to record any audio we require for interviews and stuff. We also have a recorder. This is the Zoom H1N. And yeah, we also have an ND filter, a variable ND filter with which we can cut extra light, especially if you want to shoot at wide open apertures, and if there is a lot of light, we use the variable ND filter. And of course, we have the drone, we have the Phantom 4, and yeah, I think that's about it. These are all the stuff that we use for video. Okay, so that's about it. I think I've covered most of the things that we shoot with, and of course I have tons of my memory cards, boxes, and I have a lot of these microfiber cleaning cloth, which comes in really handy to keep the equipment clean. Yeah, so since we shoot only Nikon mirrorless system, we use the XQD cards, and these are really sturdy and very well built, and so really safe to use in all the shoots. As you can see, this is all the equipment that we shoot with. So being a wedding photographer and videographer, it's extremely important that we have backup equipment for everything. Like we have a lot of backup cameras in case one of the cameras fails. We still have a backup to shoot with. We have multiple lenses to ensure that in case we split as a team or if we are working in different places, we don't have to get restricted in terms of focal length. So invest in the right lenses, invest in a good lighting system. It's extremely important to shoot photos and videos in good light. You can't always rely on ambient light. So this is all the gear that we use. In case you want to learn more about any of these, leave a comment. If you want to understand any of these equipment in detail, or if you want to get the full list of this equipment, I will post a link to my blog below in the description. You can check that out over there.